Oh, well. Thank you, gentlemen. It started off about 20 years ago as a serious talk on explosive to a round table society, funny enough. And now it's resolved itself to this load of bloody rubbish you're going to listen to tonight. I used to go to Rotary clubs as well as round table societies, but I haven't been to many just lately because I went to the Inner Wheel, about 2 years ago, and I happened to be there and saying, I haven't come here, ladies, to tell you about being blasted into eternity with a guided missile or into maternity with a guided muscle. It seems to have knackered it a bit for the Rotary Club. So somebody wrote in the magazine, we like to conduct our dues in the best possible manner, keep that bloody peasant out. But living where I do, in the swamp part of Cheshire, and having seen a psychiatrist, you get to that stage like the bloke that used to come in the local pub and piss up the bar every night. And he was in a fortnight later, he said, I'm cured. And just then he whipped it out and there's all steam up the bar again. And somebody said, I thought you said you were cured. He said, I am. He said, I just don't care anymore. So, you will notice, gentlemen, we have a glass of water on the table. As I say, this is a technical talk on explosives. So if I'm on fire and the table's on fire, for Christ's sake, pour that over me. You can imagine that just about sums it up. You know as much about this job as I do. Anyway, I will take in my right hand a stick of gelignite. Now then, you may smoke. You may even steam a bit if this goes off. This is what they call a bit of Group 1. Taped to your car engine block and detonated, you don't pick it up, you brush it up. So, now then, just to show you what happens, or how it happens, and this is the time where we've had some near tragedies. We take number 6 plain azide detonator, which we insinuate on the end of the fuse. Now then, we crimp it on with the approved nippers. So, having prodded a hole in that, we stuff the detonator up the orifice we have made. Now we have a blast bomb. I know these are a little more than 18-inch brick walls, but I think by the look of it, this should do it. Now then. Sooner or later, someone will say, can you blow up a place like this? And by Christ, looking at those stairs when I was coming up, it's not going to take a lot. They, as I say, have a bloody good laugh. Have you ever tried to start out in the blasting business? You should see some of the remarks you get when you ask them what they want blowing up. With this job, it is difficult to get off the ground, as you can imagine. So I'm going to try and explain to you what happens. And when I got my ill-fitting civvy suit and me 50 quid in my hot, sticky little hand, and I got an XWD motorbike with a couple of panniers on and a shovel on my back, and I used to go around blowing up tree stumps and things for these farmers in round Cheshire and Shropshire and up and down. And I had been working for, about 6 months or so on this motorbike, 6 or 8 months. And every other Friday afternoon, I used to get my bollocking off my bank manager, like, I want to word with you. I want to word with you see, about this 87 quid overdraft that had never gone down. Well, I don't think he should have lent it me in the first place. if he was getting so upset about it. And I used to wait until 3 minutes to 3, hoping he'd gone home. And he used to wait for me, and that used to make him worse. Because I think he was missing the wooden tops or something. Anyway. So, this lot went on, and I had started to blow up an 8-acre wood. A wood that had been cut down. 8 acres of tree stumps, there's a lot there. And I started at one end, and some other idiot had started at the other. I can't know what had happened if we ever met in the middle, but it never came to that. But I was called away to blow some rock up at Nottingham or somewhere. And when I went back again, I'd been working for this rather large, excitable farming lady. And she met me at the gate saying, "He's gone, Mr. Bates, he's gone." I said, "Who has gone, Mrs. Q, and where?" She said, "It's poor Mr. S, you know. When he was going home one evening, they think his tracker end dropped off his van, and he dived through the edge. And it's taken the council 4 days to fill the hole up in the side of the road." It seemed that the shock of dropping into the field had set off the detonators, and that sets up what is called sympathetic detonation. Whatever explosive there is in the van, the bloody lot goes off. It's not sympathetic to the poor twat that's driving it, only to itself, you see. And I do believe that they found his ring piece 1,000 yards up the field with his shoelace threaded through it. This, again, might seem humorous to you, but it's like one gentleman pointed out to me, how would you like your left boot shoved up your ass at 4 miles a second, you see? It makes your eyes water somewhat, you know. So what had happened, really, it had turned him inside out. And after the nasty smell had gone away, they started to fill up the hole in the side of the road. And as I say, at that time, I was having a lot of trouble with my bank manager. And then, one Friday, his manner suddenly changed. And he said, "Come in, come in." I thought, Christ, he's gone homosexual, you know. The strain's been too much for him, you see. He wants deviations. Then he said, "Sit down," which allayed my fears a bit. Then he said, "We are going to get you on 4 wheels." I said, "Are we?" He agreed with him at a time like this. Said, "Yes," he said, "we are going to loan you a further £40. I had never heard a quid called a pound before. I thought it was some sort of foreign currency. "You're going to loan you a further £40. I said, "Oh," because he'd heard about this tragedy, you see, and they'd had high-level financial talks at the bank. And somebody said, "Did you hear about that bloody idiot going for a Burton in a van?" And somebody said, "Yes, and we've got one on our books that's doing the same job on a bloody motorbike." So, straight away, there was a lot of panic. And so they couldn't see their way clear for flogging a hole in the road for 87 quid. So somebody had said, "Get the idiot on 4 wheels, throw him a sprat," you see. "Keep him alive till he's paid it off." So they did. And with what you can get for that motorcycle, that was 35 quid. Or 40 and 35, making a grand sum of 75 quid, you don't buy a lot for, do you? And I got a 1937 clapped out Ford 8 for that, which was black and rust when I got it. But I've been painting the backyard gate, and I thought, well, and the fence, I thought, well, it's a pity to waste this paint. I would add 2 shades of brown. And mixed together, they came out that horrible dog shit colour. So I brush painted it with that to keep the weather out, and they called it the Flying Shite. Funny part about it was, last year I had a Volvo which was the same colour, but they used to call that bugger Safari Yellow. I think it's something to do with the price. Anyway, I thought, by God, I'll never pay off this overdraft now. It's over the ton. You see? And so I thought, I shall have to go into advertising. I'd been talking to an American. And, well, they're good at advertising. They're good at bugger all else like, but advertising, they're quite good. And I thought, I shall have to go into advertising. So I had 500 leaflets printed. And a friend of mine told me where to stick them, you see. You get friends like that, don't you? But at the same time, another friend of mine was a public health officer in Liverpool. And they'd been having trouble with the piss corner on the Dock Road. It might not seem relevant to this bloody story, but you'll see how it develops as it goes on. And it was one of these, you go in by alongside the wall on the Dock Road, and it sticks out, and the pavement goes like half round it, so you're actually having to slash out towards the street. And this was a November afternoon, and he was sitting in his office, being a public health officer, because it was cold outside. And he got his pipes turned up and his overcoat on. He'd had a look at the fag ends and fingernails for that morning, you see. And he got out, and it was a nice, warm, humid atmosphere in his office, and a lady came in with her hat in her finger and thumb and dropped it on his desk and said, "What are you going to do about that, Mr. Inspector?" And he put his nose over it, and with the warm, humorous atmosphere in the room, he thought, that's piss. It was unmistakable, you know. You've had them stand like that in front of an open fire, haven't you? Oh, that's piss. And it was. I said, well, what was it, John? He said, well, it seemed at 2:30 the dinner time drunks were in there, and it had been the highest up the wall for half a crown. And somebody had made the air brake, you see. All over the bloody hat as she walked past. Oh, I thought to myself, that's the place to stick me notices. About 6'2", the tall ones can have a readie, and the little ones can have a long-range special and read it from the back, you see. And it worked, you know. You'd be amazed at the amount of response that I got from it. But they were always very loath to tell you where they'd read the bloody leaflet, you know. Just while we were on that, there is another story about the blind man there. He's along the Dock Road, standing on the corner, and with his dog, and suddenly his dog cocked its leg up and pissed all up and down his leg, and a bloke ran forward, thought he was on fire, you know. And he saw what it was, and just as he did that, the blind man put his hand in his pocket and gave it a big bonio, one of those bloody big biscuits. He said, by God, he said, I've seen some acts of charity in my time, he said, I've never seen one. He said, here's your dog, just pissed up your leg, and you give it a biscuit. He said, aye, he said, I'm trying to find out which end its head is so I can kick its ass. A little while ago, you know, when you go to these places, you go to different parts, and I was giving a talk in Wrexham, and I thought, well, you know, and as I say, a little while ago we were talking about that old van of mine, and I heard tell of a story there about a Blodwen. She was in the pub at Llanham on a Cluckill, and Di comes in. He thought, Blodwen's on her own tonight. I'll get her a few gins. So he got her a few gins. He got about 2 dozen. About 10:30, she's pretty well dieselled up. And he said, can I take you home, Blodwen? I've got my motor car round the back. He said, sure you can, Di. He goes round the back, and round the back got the little Austin 7, you know, the little puddle jumper, the 2-foot track and 3-foot wheelbase. And she was rather a big girl, and he was a thinker. And he thought, how am I going to manage this without opening both doors and putting it in reverse, you see? And then he thought, it's the woods for Blodwen tonight. So he goes round the back of Forestry Commission, and he's just opening the door to get her in the wood, and some terrible screams coming out the woods. He says, can you hear the terrible screams, Di? She says, I can, Blodwen. She said, it sounds as though someone is having a fit. She says, aye, and it sounds like a tight one too. But with this, the advertising job, you get all sorts of jobs to do. And a bloke rang me up, he said, hey, come and blow us a strong room. You know, he said, we've got a bank strong room we want blowing. I thought, oh, this is it. All these years I've been waiting for one of these buggers. It's me in the white suit in the Argentine, you know. I said, how much is in it, you know? And then he said, don't talk like a twat. You like, come out of that tree and I'll talk to you, sort of thing. I said, what's the carry on? He said, we're altering the premises for hump batches in Hanley, middle of Hanley there. And the store came up the street and up to the bank and over the bank, and the bank was shifting their little premises onto the other corner. He said, and we've got to alter the premises to make it all into the one shop. Will you come up and blow the strong? We've hit the strong room, we can do now with it. So he goes up there the next morning. When I got there they took the front window out, and they got some planks in to get in with the wheelbarrows, and they've been chommering away at the corner of the strong room for a week and knocked about hatful off. You see? So I said, have you got the key? You know. Not that we need it, but it saves explosive, you know. He said, aye. So we go in the strong room. I thought, well, just the job, because it's a room in a room, you see. 5 courses of engineering brick with strips of steel down and a concrete lid on the top. So you get in the room and drill one wall. Put a dozen in this wall, give it a fair bloody thrutching, and that'll knacker that, you see. And then do the other wall at the other end, and then add the roof on with acros and do the others and do the roof last, you see. So we got into the, and just as I was going to go in there, young Hunt Batch comes up. Now he's a round tabler, and I'd been to their round table about a month previously, and he looked at me and he went all pensive like. He says, Christ, he said, they've not sent for you. I said, they have. I said, absolutely painless. You won't need an anaesthetic for this. He said, me bloody shop. Don't worry. You go and have your cup of coffee and forget it. Anyway, somebody led him off. Went in, drilled it, put the explosive in, let these dozen bits of fuse come out into the street. And then they started, boom, 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 like that, you know, makes your bloody teeth chatter for a minute. And the pigeons took off and did a couple of laps. And the bobby was standing on the edge of the pit. He pulled his helmet over his eyes, you know. And the last one went, and all the dust was coming out, and the lads went in there, hee, and there the wall is a steaming ruin, you see, hanging on bits of metal. Hee, bloody lovely, hee, we can have this in the wheelbarrow now. Gosh, so I thought, I'm not going in there with all, because it gets in your navel and, you know, behind your ear and up your nostril. And just then, the Hunt Batch come up, and he's all smiles. He said, by God, he said, you've helped us out this morning. I said, I'll say, you wouldn't have had this department open for Christmas. He said, I'm not talking about that. I said, what are you talking about? He said, you realise you're working directly underneath the ladies' underwear department? I said, so what? Oh, he said, we've had one in this morning. Our manageress, she had a hell of a time with her. 3/4 of an hour. She tried all the rubber corsets. When she went in there, she come out here. When she went in there, the bloody sand run to the bottom. So we got the 36 guinea, whalebone and string, and she couldn't get them to meet. And that first shot went off. Woo, my God! She was in, laced up, and out the bloody shop in 4 minutes, she said. Come and pick yourself a suit. But then with the advertising, of course, you'll always get the other bloke come up to you. We want a lake depth charging. You know, I said, depth charging, what for? He said, we've got pike in it, he says. I said, well, what do you want me to depth charge? He said, we want all the pike killing. Depth charge the buggers, he says. He said, we've tried netting it. You know, he said, but with the undulating bottom, you see, the buggers go under the net. He said, we netted it and we thought we got them all out. Then we put some pike bait in there and we caught 3. He said, and we're going to stock it with trout. He said, and if we put young trout in there, they'll go through them buggers like a dose of salt. Here we put about 150 trout in, we'll finish up with one big fat pike, you know. He said, it's no use to us, that isn't, you see. Oh, he said, I wonder if you could come and depth charge the buggers. I said, I'll depth charge them, all right. He said, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. It's up the other side St. Asaph, he says. He said, if we come for you on Saturday morning, you can use my Land Rover. He said, we're a syndicate of 2. Said, you use my Land Rover and we'll go in the car in front and you follow us and we'll show you the way. You can put all your explosive in my Land Rover. I said, that suits me. So he come on the Land Rover and he got out the Land Rover and got in the car with the other bloke, you see, and they went away. And I put my explosive in, and I followed them up, chased them up the road, and every time I looked like catching them up a bit, they'd shoot off again, you know. A good 2 mile in front by the time we got up to St. Asaph, and up the bloody mountains we went. And went up to this place, and when we got there, it was a beautiful place, 4.5 acre lake, and it was about, on an average of 18 foot deep. And in one or two places, it might have been 25 or 30 foot deep, these holes in it, you see. And a couple of days previously, when I was talking to him about it, I said, now, one of you'll have to row the boat, you see, get me out there, then I can depth charge, chuck the jet charges over the back, and we can row down, and then they'll detonate, and we can kill the bloody pike. So when they got out the car, instead of the 2 getting out, there was 3 got out. And one fellow was a little inoffensive bloke, you know, letting the world go by, minding his own bloody business, you know, having a good look. And the 2 came to show him the lovely scenery, you see. That's what they bloody codded him on with. And as soon as I said, which of you buggers is rowing the boat, the big un grabbed some rushes and some straws. And they started drawing bloody straws. Now, I could have safely put £100 down to say that little fellow had got the short straw. He was taking what they call for the ride, you know. I said, well, it looks as though you're in the boat, mister. He said, well, is that the stuff there? And I got the nice big £10 sticks. It saves tying 2 £5 ones together. And just to make sure, give it some bloody at me, you know. But £10 stick, 18 foot on the bottom, will bring rocks up as big as that chair, you know. Hell of a lot of woof with it, you see. So I just got them all fused up, nice pile of them in the back of the boat. He said, by the way, he said, what happens if that goes off? I said, well, me and thee won't feel it anyway. I said, you do get a feeling of well-being just for that millisecond. I said, it doesn't really hurt, you know. I was looking at it. I said, do you think you can manage? Oh, aye. He said, so he rose off to the middle. I said, just steady it up a bit. And on the back there, lit the bit of fuse, and plunk, a lovely big £10 stick, plunk in the water, and it leaves a trail of bubbles where the fuse comes up, you see. And because it burned quite well underneath, under the water, you can't put it out once you've got it lit. And I said to him, row. And I could feel the boat shaking and all like that. But the bloody bubbles weren't dropping astern at all. And I thought, by God, well, this isn't a time to be hanging about. I said, row. And he's rowing all right. When I looked round, he's going like buggery. But the oars weren't even in the water. The bubbles had fascinated him like a bloody snake. And he was scratching away like an old hen. I said, for Christ's sake, get him in the water and row. But by God, when he got him in, he'd have got his blue. Oh, as he got going up, I could keep dumping the odd one in, you see. Well, there's always that time lag for the first one. But when you've lit the next one and tossed it in, there's only about 2 or 3 seconds between them, and then they start going off. Boom, and then they boom, boom. Christ, he said they're catching us up. Oh, dear. Oh, I do believe he finished up with a double hernia. Oh, dear. We all right now? Oh. All right, then we'll start off again. But with these records, you'd be amazed that I know a chap that has a record shop in Altrincham. That's in Greater Manchester, of course. And Madam will get the Jaguar out and go from Winslow. because that is the money belt of Cheshire, you see. It goes like a snake. Starts at Chester and it misses us by about 10.5 miles and pisses off through Winslow, and round that way. And they don't buy the records in Winslow. It's beneath them to buy such filthy rubbish. And so they get the Jaguar out, Madam will, and go to Altrincham, about 10 miles, to buy the bloody record. And she goes in this shop and say, "Young man, have you got Beethoven's Fifth?" He said, "Well, go and see the girl." That's his missus, really, but it doesn't crack on, And she'll get her one, Midnight Blue, Candelabra, the lot. And then she waits till every bugger goes out the shop. It's only a little shop. And say, "Young man, have you got Blas to beat?" she said. So I make a big show of getting it off the shelf, and she stuffs it behind the other one to get out the bloody shop with. He said, "I'm not half selling some shit, we're selling yours." Little swine, yes. I don't know whether you, sometimes I get to give talks different places, and I went to give a talk to the Gynecologist Club. You wouldn't believe it. It's true. Anyway, I went to give the Gynecologist Club, and when I was talking to one of them, he said, we said, we get a few laughs in our business, because it can be a frustrating job. Well, you imagine. Anyway, he said, I had a lady come in to see me, he said, and she's been trying to reproduce one of her own kind for about 15 years and hadn't managed it. And he'd give her all the pointers, like the wall bricks under the foot of the bed, and, jumping off the wardrobe, and anyway, he thought, and they said, "Well, it's no use, madam, it's artificial insemination." And we sent her off somewhere to this gynae man, the consultant man, to his rooms. And he said, "Just take your pants off." He said, "I won't be a moment, I'll go in and get the test tubes," in his little laboratory, you see, through a glass door. And he goes in there, and she hears a terrific crash and an oath like, "That's knackered it," And he came back all apologetic. "I'm frightfully sorry, madam. That was the last 6 tubes. Will you have draft?" Another time, you go there and they say, "Dear bloke," somebody said, "Hey, Blaster, go and chat the Pan Am Society up." The Pan Am. I thought, God, those bloody big silver aeroplanes with blue tails, Pan Am. I thought, we've got a spare seat, I'm off to Japan. I'll sound, fiddle my way in, like if I have to sit on the Elson all the way across the Pacific, I don't mind. Pan Am, bloody hell. Anyway, it turned out they were having their meeting in Sam's Chop House. In Deansgate, in Manchester, it was. I thought, well, while I'm down here, I'm not far from Cheetham Hill, tell them a Jewish story, like you would. Well, like some would. And I was telling him about old Ikey walking up Cheetham Hill on Friday night, the Jewish Sabbath, and he's going past the pork butcher shop, and there's a bloody big pork chop in the window. And he thought, bugger the religion, I'm having it. They can't do any more to me now, So... Oh, he went in and got the 2 and 9 pork chop and took it home, he was clutching it to his breast. And he stuffed it in the oven with the onions round it, and he's getting stuck into it about 11 o'clock, and one of his sons walks in. "What you got there, Papa?" "A pork chop." I go straight and tell the rabbi. No, son, what you have, a £10 or a new suit?" "I have a new suit, Papa." "Okay, I buy you a new suit. You go to bed, you say nothing to Rebecca, huh?" So he goes off to bed, and the old man's getting stuck into his pork chop again, and his other son walks in. "What you got there, Papa?" "A pork chop." I go straight and tell the rabbi. No, son, what you have? A £10 or a new suit?" "I have a £10, Papa." "Okay, I give you £10. You say nothing to Mama, huh?" So the old man finishes his pork chop, and next morning he's walking down Cheetham Hill, and old Izzy, the jeweller's coming up, and he sees this wounded spaniel look on Ikey's face. He said, "What with you, Ikey? Not too happy this morning, huh?" He said, No, Izzy. I turned Christian for 5 minutes last night, and straight away I'm chiseled by a couple of bloody Jews." Well, you see, then they had a little break like we just had, and somebody shoved a big meat butty in my hand with the meat on it and no butter. And I suddenly realised I'd been talking to the Pan-American Jewish community. Anyway, sometimes, one evening, I was tearing a piece of paper off the end of a roll. And, well, I always think it sounds better than saying I was having a shit at the time. And my missus shouts up, "It's somebody from London." Now, we don't get many calls from London where we live in the bloody sticks. We get the visits from the Mormons and the Quakers, but we don't get any telephone calls from London. Anyway, she said, "It's somebody from London." So we did, well, tell him to wait a bit then, you see. So, I've got a table behind the front door so I can run down the stairs and sit on the second stair from the bottom and answer the phone. You see, and when you've been married as long as I have, you can run down in your shirt tail, nobody gives a bugger anyway, and sit on the second stair from the bottom and answer the phone. And we have brown stair carpet. That pile does make your arse itch for the first 6 months, but you get used to that, you get hardened to it, you know. Anyway, so, and a voice on the end said, "BBC 2. I said, "Oh, aye, what do you want blowing up?" He said, "Well, nothing really. We wondered if you'll come on our show on Saturday." I said, "I can't come on Saturday, I'm going to a donkey derby." See, at one time, I used to perform on a motorcycle. Not sexually, no. You tried it over the tank of a Norton? A filler cap's that big. Think you got your balls in a rat trap. Anyway, he said, just a ladder of death and wall of fire for the kids. And the Crewe Vagrants Cricket Club was short of 200 quid to have a new water tank put in the roof of their pavilion. And they had had high-level financial talks at their club. You see, we'll run a donkey derby to raise a few bob, and we'll see if that idiot will bring his motorbike and do a few stunts, and we can charge the kids an extra bob to watch him break his bloody neck, you see. So I'd been approached with this in view. I said, "I'm very sorry, I'm going to a donkey derby." And then he said, "What on earth is a donkey derby?" I said, "They run donkeys around a field. They have to have a horseshoe-shaped course because the little buggers won't go past the place they started from. They're not all prick and ribs like you think, you know." Anyway, he said, "How's that again?" I don't think he understood the language. And I said, "I'm taking my motorbike," you see. And I'm trying to explain to him what's happening. Now, he's sitting down in Sloane Square in an air-conditioned office. I'm sitting on the bottom of our stairs in my shirt tail. We have no draft excluder on our front door. And the wind is flying under it and going straight up my bloody kilt. There is a reason for this, you see. At home, I have a Doberman Pinscher. Now, they're German police dogs. Have you ever seen one? It's a dog you live with. It doesn't live with you. You learn to live with a bloody dog. And when it wants to come in, it always tries it when the door's shut. It's a way they have with them. And if it doesn't get through the bloody panel first go, it gets peevish. And scraps me draft extruder off, chews it up and chucks it over next door. See, the German police have a funny sense of humour. They train their dogs to go for anything hanging loose. They say it works two ways. If it fangs them and holds you, all right. But if you tear yourself free, it makes your eyes water and you can't see where you're going anyway. So, we have no draft excluder on our front door. And the wind is flying under there and going up my shirt tail, as I told you. And my testicles have turned to a pale tinge of blue and retracted up into my abdomen. We have had all the nonsense off the missus like, nutmegs, you see. Now, This is doing bugger all for my image. And he's still whittling about a bloody donkey derby. I said, I'm very sorry I can't come on Saturday. Oh, very well. There's a bloody click. I thought, that's the last we heard of BBC Two. So I went on the Saturday and performed, as was me wont. And on the Monday night, I was having a shave, and my missus said, I think it's him again. So you go down, right worried gutser he was. And I said, what do you want this time? He said, well, we've been considering, so you have to consider. We've been considering. We wondered if you'd come on our show this Saturday. I said, I can come this Saturday. I'm not going to a donkey derby. I thought, well, I better tell him because I think we're at one every bloody weekend. You know? He said, oh, I see. And I said, well, just hold your foot up a bit, my old fruit. Like, you know, it might look bloody simple. Like, how much are we getting? He said, we give you 20 guineas. 20 guineas. I said, where is it? Hammersmith Studio? I said, that's somewhere in London. I said, that's a long way from Sandbach. I said, I have to get a hayride to get to Crewe. And it's £8.10 on the train. He said, it's not, it's £4.10. The twats are checked up. Yes, he did, yes. So, I thought, oh, they're not as bloody simple as what they sound either. Anyway. Oh. He said, but we won't argue, we'll give you 30 guineas. 30 guineas. I said, oh, all right then. I said, what do I do? He said, you meet Mr. Liam Nolan in the pub across the road at 1:30 on Saturday lunchtime. I said, all right, then I'll be there. So I rang a mate of mine up in the Potteries, Harold Buckley. Good lad, Harold. I said, Harold, do you fancy a bit of telly on Saturday? He said, I'll come with you. I said, bugger off, I'll come with you. We got a Bentley, you see. I said, I'll chuck 8 gallon regular in your Bentley. He said, you're not putting that weasel piss in my car? Very offhanded he was, very. I think it hurt him, you know. I said, Buggy, you put your own petrol in. Anyway. So we went off. Down the M1, we're there at 11:15, and in the pub, I was pissed at 12:30. I was in no pain at all at 1:30. And this bloke comes in. He said, you're not, I said, I am, and you're a lovely little lad. Pissed at a fiddler's bitch. He said, have no more. He said, you're on in an hour. Well, it's too late, you can't take it out. Well, not that it'll do any bloody good anyway. Come along. You go across the road and into the studio, and there's like a corridor about as wide as this room. All these lights, you know. And I said, hey, look at this bloody lot here. And they're going, shh. And just then a couple of powder puffs on my ears. And they get round the front, son. You know, I read the people. Get round the front. I said, what's that for? Oh, the boozer's gone to your ears. Aye, he was a quid at a bloody 4-speed walking stick, that one. The boozer's gone to your ears. And there's a door, and it got Blaster Bates and Al Coran on the door. I said, what's this lot here? Hope you don't mind sharing your dressing room. It's a dressing room, I'm bloody well dressed. I said, but I'll have a look in one, never seen in one. I opened the door, and Al Coran in there, he's a mind reader. You should have seen that bit of Group 1 he'd got in there with him. All tits and dimples she were. Yeah. And I said, what does she do? She holds his wand while he's thinking. Holds his wand while he's thinking. You can imagine the drunken remarks they got to that, you know. Tell her to get out of this or break a bloody wrist. And they go, shush, what? Frightfully naughty. Come along, and we go into this place, and a huge place, a great big semicircular wall at the back there with all these curtains on it, a little tiny table in the corner. He said, now sit there and shut up. You know, another table about 15 foot away, like a double table. Peter Hay come and sit by there, and James Mason walked in stroking his pussycat. and a woman that trained 2 dogs and something for a film, and they're chatting, and they turned the bloody lights up, and they started to roast me, you see. Then the pop group started in the far corner, you know, about 10 million volts. Yo, my bloody head's going like this here. But I had some lotion, you see. What the hell? It was murder. I thought these buggers are waiting for me to pack up and go home. I thought, bugger it, I'll stop here as long as they do. I'll have a little smoke. And I'm just going to get the bloody pipe lit at the time, and a face come over my shoulder and said, put that out. Well, I'd gone 170 mile in a hot Bentley. I'd enjoyed myself in the pub, but the moment I walked in that studio, I'd had my ears powder puffed. Made me feel like Dumbo in a taxi with both doors open. when he'd asked him a question, holds his wand while he's bloody thinking, you know. Then go in there, sit in the corner, nobody spoke to me at all. Then they start to bloody roast you and blind you with this noise, then somebody says, put that out. Well, I ask you, if you'd have done all that and was half pissed, what would you have said? You're right. Off. No, he understood the language. By God, they changed the scene 6 times. I've never seen a studio come to life so quick. Everybody moved at once. And Gay Byrne come running round the side of this stage carrying his own stool and plunked it down. And he said, how do you like being in London? Well, I'd seen now to London. I've been in the pub. Said they tell me the town hall's a bit bigger than the bugger we got in Sandbach. Yeah, we've just seen you knock down one of those chimney stacks. He said, how'd you get them to drop in such a confined space? I couldn't even see the monitor from where I was. I said, I've got a touch like a bloody midwife. And the domestic fingers twitching there. And I looked round and Buckley's fell on the bloody floor and Pearson, the controller of BBC Two, he's stuck on the panel going, no! No! It was too late, it was a live show. And the Queen and Maggie and Philip and all them new baits, he had a touch like a bloody midwife. And for some reason, I've never been back. I remember quite well. One evening, when I happened to be coming home, when I'd been with a mate of mine, we'd been shooting somewhere, and we were coming home one night, and I was dropping him off, and he lived at a farmhouse on a bit of a corner, a bit of cul-de-sac, and we turned into this little lane. And I'd got the headlights on, and as I turned in, it's late, it's about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and there was a car, you know, standing, well, it was kind of got a little bit of a rock on it, you know, and he said, put the headlights out, you know, you wouldn't like it, you know what I mean. Anyway, I put the headlights out, and we were just having a smoke before he went in, and just then there was a knock on my side, and a young woman stood there. She said, oh, can you help me? I thought, God, rape, you know. That time of the night, can you help me? You know, what help would I be? Anyhow, so I said, yes, certainly, miss, or is it madam? Anyhow, she says, will you come up to the car? And I go to this car, one of these cars with reclining front seats and both doors are open. You know, there's a bloke lying face down going, oh, making a horrible noise, in terrible pain. And he's lying there, and the moon is shining through the windscreen on his bare, pimply bottom, you know, which was a nauseating sight, I fancy, at the best of time, especially in a bloody moonlight, it's worse, you know. I said, what's up with him? I thought he's had a stroke. You know, I mean, one of them strokes. So, she said he's stuck. I thought, oh, that's... then he's stuck. How's he... And I looked, and I followed his right leg up, and his foot disappeared into his glove compartment, and it was twisted round, and the foot itself had gone in the glove compartment, and I suppose it had doubled his shoe back, and the bloody welt of his shoe would let it come out again. And then she'd come to get help, well, you can imagine, from a semi-recumbent position, and it had put all the weight on his bloody shin, and it made it worse. Oh! You see, she says, can you help me? I said, certainly. I'll take the weight off him. You double his foot up and wrench it out that glove compartment. We both pulled together. So I drew the bags over his bottom, and I said, are you ready now? And he goes, oh! Bump! And he bumped his head on the back seat. I said, let that be a lesson to you, miss. Tell him to keep his contraceptives in his ashtray in future. Yes. Oh, Christ. Then, a little while ago, we were talking about that old van of mine, and I used to go on these estates. I blow quite a bit up on these tree stumps on these big estates and whatnot. I blew up the septic tank on one estate not very long ago. They were going onto some main drains. They had their septic tank, and all the local peasantry were there with buckets. I said, why is that? They said, that's the best bloody manure you can get, you know. It's all ex-cold roast pheasant and bloody oysters. It'll grow tomatoes as big as your head, you know. Anyway, it's the best. It's expensive. It's worth a guinea an ounce. Anyway. We're just talking about that. I had a bit of a county story about Cynthia going to the Hunt Ball. And I said, now, Cynthia, now you're 18, you'll be allowed to go to the Hunt Ball with your boyfriend. And Mummy will get you a gown, you see. He said, but there are just one or two things I'd like to say to you before you go. He said, you'll probably dance cheek to cheek. He said, Mummy won't worry too much about that. You may have a drink or two. He said, Mummy won't worry too much about that either. We know what it's all about, you know. And when your boyfriend brings you home again, he'll probably stop his motor car in the lane. He might even remove your bra. But Mummy won't worry too much about that. He might even take your pants off. She said, but Cynthia, if he tries to get on top of you, you mustn't do that because Mummy will worry, you see. So Cynth come home with the bloody milk about 6:30, you know. Whoa, rough, you know, sash over one bloody shoulder. Yeah, the old man's chewing his finger ends. Cynthia, wherever have you been to this ungodly hour, coming home with the milk like this? How very dare you? Oh, Daddy, she said, I've had a wonderful time. I danced cheek to cheek, and I had a drink or two, and I thought, well, this is all right. Mummy won't worry about this. When my boyfriend brought me home again, he stopped his motor car in the lane and removed my bra. I thought, Mummy won't worry about this either, and it's all frightfully jolly. And then he took my pants off, and the old man said, whatever did you do then, Cynthia? Well, I got on top of him and let his mummy worry. I mean, just a quickie. I go up to Scotland sometimes, and I was talking to old Duncan McElvery. Duncan said to me, did you hear about wee Sandy, Mr. Bates? I said, I didn't, Duncan. Aye. Up on the Isle of Mull it was. And he said, aye, he said, and the poor wee boy had got to go and do his national service, you know. And he didn't want to go. And he'd got to go and see the MO in Oban, over on the ferry, you see, about 40 minutes from Craigienure to Oban. And when he got there, the MO said, I want a wee sample of your water, Sandy. In that jar up there. He said, what, from here? Anyway, he said, I hadn't got any, doctor. I just recently relieved myself coming down the Sound of Mull. You see, I had to piss off of the rail of the boat. He was moving it about a bit because the seagulls will go for a crisp. Anyway. Did I go any, doctor? So we'll go back to the island and come back tomorrow for your medical. So he goes back to the island and comes back the next day, and he got a bottle of piss with him, and he got a drop of his father and a drop of his mother's and a drop of his sister's, shook up in the bottle. He thought, well, no have me in the army with this rubbish. And he gave it the MO, and the MO sent it to the path lab to have it tested. Well, he's getting him to cough and shout 99, see if he can count, or he's got a cold. And it came back, and the MO opened the little, he said, I've got a wee bit of news for you, Sandy. He said, what is it, doctor? Your father's got asthma, your mother's got piles, your sister's pregnant, and you're for the Argylls.